What's up, influencers? Welcome to another episode of the VI Show, where we interview successful entrepreneurs and YouTubers who are crushing it. Today, we're going to be interviewing Kristina Smallhorn, the real estate whisperer. She's a real estate agent and content creator sharing information on buying affordable housing as well as general market news. With over 100,000 subscribers and almost 15 million views, she is not only a successful entrepreneur, but she has been able to crush it on YouTube. Just like so many creators, success didn't come easy. She's going to be sharing her major breakthroughs as well as the one thing that turned her channel around. All that and more coming up on the VI Show right now. That's right. Welcome to Video Influencers. We're helping build your income or influence, income, and impact with online videos. Sean and I started this channel to help you crush it on YouTube. We're also the co-authors of YouTube Secrets, the ultimate guide for growing your following and making money as a video influencer. Get your copy at Amazon, Audible. Please leave us a review. And with that being said, I'm going to quickly pull in Kristina. Kristina, how are you doing? And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Benji. I appreciate you having me on. I am doing fantastic.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to interview you. I used to be in real estate, and I always appreciate anybody in that industry utilizing this platform because I think more entrepreneurs could totally take advantage of the utility of YouTube. So real quick, for people that may not know who you are and what you do, can you tell us about your channel and how it relates to your business as a real estate agent?
Yeah, sure. So I have a real estate channel. I mainly talk about affordable housing options and helping those looking for affordable housing options, usually the most disadvantaged, so that way they're not taking advantage of. Right. And I talk about all sorts of things that are going on in the real estate market currently. I've been doing it since 2017, and I really didn't find my way until about 2019.
That's awesome. Well, you know, one of the things that's really impressive about what you do is, of course, this is a small niche, but you're not getting small views. We're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. You even have videos that have done over 1 million. And what's so crazy about this is the fact that, you know, this is an industry that I think is really slow to catch up to technology. But I mean, it's like you've been a YouTuber your whole life. But I know it wasn't always that way. Can you tell us about what was the motivation to get on to YouTube and what that first initial experience was like, because I know that it was kind of slow going.
Yes. So I had been a real estate agent for some time, and I had worked with some clients that I probably shouldn't have worked with in the first place. Our personalities didn't necessarily match. And I was in a real estate funk, you know, how like you just get in that depression, and I didn't know really what to do going forward. Like, how do I attract the right kind of people? I had done the door knocking, the phone calls, and it just, none of it felt right. So I was thinking of a way that I could draw people to me instead of like trying to force them to like me. And I ended up falling on a Gary Vee video, and he was like, if you're not doing a video right now, you're stupid. And then, like, you know, get out of your own head and pick up a camera and do it. And I'm like, well, I'm a goofball. I'm kind of an idiot. I can grab a camera and be me and just do whatever I want to do. So it was actually kind of like therapy when I first started doing videos, because I was actually acting out the bad people I had worked with prior. And then I would play the real estate agent and the bad client at the same time. It was like almost like a skit, but I would give real estate information at the same time. And that really was therapeutic for me. And I was hooked after that. I mean, I just couldn't stop. I really enjoyed it. I was mostly doing it on Facebook at first, but then I switched over to YouTube after Facebook became a pay-to-play platform. I'm like, there's no way I'm paying Facebook to get people to watch my goofy videos about real estate. Give me a break.
I remember when Gary Vaynerchuk wrote the book Crush It, at the very end, he gives some tips on different channels he would start. One of them is tea. By the way, we're both drinking some tea. I'm drinking some green tea right here with your huge cup. And then also he said to start a at-home shopping show, like a QVC on YouTube. And the last one was a real estate channel. He said that there was no one really doing it seriously. And I actually took his advice too. And so in 2010, 2011, I started a real estate channel. And so it's interesting to see you 10 years later doing it and really crushing it. But I know that even though it was a therapy session for you, it was a way to get content out, and you were listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, you weren't getting the kind of crazy views you're getting today. Can you tell us about what that struggle was like, and maybe some of the mistakes that you made, at the very beginning of your YouTube channel?
So yeah, when I first started, I really didn't know what I was doing. I just kept putting out videos, and I was hoping for like what I always said, like the YouTube gods to smile upon my channel, and of course that isn't how it works. And then I started like watching more and more people. And the first mistake I made was I was listening to more and more people. I listened to too many people. Everybody has an opinion, and not everybody's this is correct. And then you listen to too many people, and you're not focusing on one method to get your channel to take off. So that was a mistake number one. Another thing was I didn't really have any kind of focus. I mean, of course it was about real estate, but it wasn't focused on a specific type of person that would be watching my channel. So I had videos about homeowners. I had videos about home buyers. I had videos about home sellers. I had videos about real estate laws. I mean, I had so many different types of real estate videos, but I thought I was doing the right thing because I was like, I'm niche down, I'm about real estate, but that isn't, that isn't how it works. And then the other thing is that I was overly focused on how keywords worked. I would spend a whole entire day trying to find some magical secret sauce of keyword long-tailed phrases that were going to make my video take off. And I would stuff the living bejesus out of the description with all these keywords that I discovered through all these different sources. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. I've crafted the perfect description to make my video blow up because I did the research. I would spend a whole day doing that. And guess what? I pushed that and I'm like, it's going to matter. Here it is. The gods are going to be happy now, and nothing would happen. It's like, I was like, when I showed my mentor now my process, he was like, the sign of insanity is? And I said, what's that? He's like, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I'm like, well, I never said I was exactly sane. I never claimed to have it all up here.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Which is doing everything and trying to reach everybody and not having that focus. That is so important. And I love the fact that you brought up all these other YouTube channels and experts and trying to listen to different strategies. And every niche, every audience, every even content creator has to hone in what that strategy is. But more important than anything is that focus. And I know that is the big breakthrough moment. That's the one takeaway that changed everything. Can you talk about when you finally had that aha moment, what that was, and how you applied it to your content to go from just doing like a few hundred views to literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of views per upload?
Sure. So I was fortunate enough to win a 1-hour consultation with the great Daryl Eves.
Yes.
And he took he went into my channel and he did like a 90-day backup, and he looked to see what people were watching in the last 90 days. And he said, you have this amount of content. One of your groups of content is about getting the smell of dog pee out of carpet and when you're selling your home. And he said, and the other thing is, you've been talking about these modular or manufactured homes. He said, that looks like those are what people want to hear about. I said, if I never have to make another dog pee video again, I said, matter of fact, I want to erase it from my channel. He's like, absolutely not. He said, leave it there. And then he said, but this other stuff, are you interested in talking about that? I'm like, yeah, actually I am. And he's like, that's what you need to start focusing in on. Like, you have an audience here. You need to really start honing in and focusing on it. Even though he gave me that advice at that moment, and I didn't make videos about it at that moment. And yes, that's what's got my channel moving. It wasn't until I really tried to get into the head of that specific viewer did I really start to get it, what it was that my audience really wanted. Because I could have made that one video, but if I hadn't really focused in on it, I don't think I would ever have had that success. I had to really be in their shoes and know exactly what they want to see. And do I have winners every single time? Absolutely not, but I definitely understand who I'm speaking to a lot better.
Yeah. And so like bring us into that, I guess, video idea creation process. How has that realization of who you're speaking to helped influence your titles, your thumbnails, obviously the ideas, and how it made your videos better? I'm sure you had great videos before, but how that led to more views and led to this massive growth you've been experiencing the last couple of years.
So when I started getting into their heads basically and
Yeah.
seeing what they watched and focused in on them, I realized there were some things that they do. They're very concerned on what's currently happening with the housing market now. They're looking for either a place to retire with affordable homes, or they're looking for a second home. I also realized when I started doing and digging up, they want to know that really the differences, but different types of homes, because they hear all these names but they don't know really what those words mean. And so I made content specifically speaking to them. I gave them places to retire. I've told them all about manufactured homes, modular homes, mobile homes. I literally make a video for each person that's interested in each one of those things. I even compare the two types of homes. And then every week of course I talk about the housing market, so I can address them in their personal questions right here right now, so they can ask me live their real estate questions.
Yeah, and obviously there's so many different kinds of homes that people are buying, all different levels. And so when you understand the nuances of a specific type of buyer, and I know I'm kind of getting geeky with the real estate talk, right? But when you understand who you're talking to and you speak their language, or you share information about what they care about, it basically led to like content that resonated with that viewer, which I'm assuming led to more watch time. The percentage of your videos that people are actually watching were probably more and more. Did you see it reflected in your comments? And then like, tell us how it's actually affected your business.
So yeah, of course, my comments and views and all that went up. And then I realized that my audience that I'm speaking to ends up coming to every single video when it relates to certain kinds of topics. You start to see a pattern of different names. Whenever I talk about one specific topic, I'm like, oh, here they are.
Right, right.
They're right at the top of the list. So and that's how I know that I'm speaking to them. I'm like, it resonated with my audience. The second thing is that when I had originally done my real estate channel, I was trying to get specific leads for my location, for my business, like for me. And then when I shifted gears, which I was planning on doing anyways, but the pandemic kind of made me do it even faster, was I started speaking to more of across the United States, real estate across the board. So when I interview real estate agents on my live show, they're from all over the country. So that way we can answer everybody's questions from around the country. And that way I can do more of like a referral business instead of actually being out in the field, selling houses, listing homes. I still do that. I just don't do, 5 a month. I'll do 1, maybe 2. I'm not going to stress myself out over that, because it's just much easier to send out a referral and have the other agent do the work. And then I get a referral fee from that, instead of me going out and showing 1,000 houses.
Totally.
And anybody that knows the real estate market right now, it's so crazy. You could put in 5 offers and all of them get rejected. And that just seemed like a lot of time wasted.
That's a whole nother topic
wasted.
that I feel like we could talk for an hour and people would listen to every single word, because it's a huge challenge. But what I love about what you're doing is, like so many real estate agents that are using YouTube, they're using it as a way to get leads, to get buyers and sellers. So this is real estate talk. And to put it simply, when you put out a video as a real estate agent, typically you're getting traffic and you're hoping that they will buy a home through you or sell their home as their listing agent, which means you'll get a commission when the house sells. So what Kristina's been able to do is actually take those leads and hand it off to other agents or work with other agents. They basically do all the work, because ultimately I think this is the key point and takeaway for anybody that's creating a YouTube channel in really any industry. It's the attention that's really valuable. And this is why it is so important to get views, because you don't know what kind of opportunities will arise rise when you get the kind of traffic Kristina is getting. So going back to my real estate channel, I wasn't getting crazy amounts of views because I was doing a different strategy. I was looking to get the buyers and sellers in my area. I happened to get some investors that were looking to invest in houses in the Seattle area. But for you, your views were coming from all over the planet, basically. And so obviously it dramatically changed your business. You probably are, and I real quick kind of fun question. 10 years ago, when you first started real estate, if yourself right now told that past self, hey, you're going to have a YouTube channel and your business not only will be very successful, you'll be doing this as a business model, would you have believed it? And what's that like looking back at how you started, especially because you started during a real estate crash?
I wouldn't have believed it. I didn't even, when I first started real estate, I remember asking my broker, do I need a website? And she's like, nah, you can just use mine. And I was like, I think I need a website.
Yeah.
And I remember asking that. And then I remember also like when Facebook started and they had started these Facebook business pages, I'm like, we should all have our own business page. And they all thought they laughed at me at this meeting. And I was like, no, everybody should have a business page. And so I was posting stuff on the business page and they were like, that's a toy, you know, like that's a waste of time. And I'm like, I don't think this is a waste of time. I think that we're going to start using these more and more. And they wouldn't listen to me. And it was like 5 years later, they were like, can you make us a Facebook business page, you know? And I had already had one. You know? So I've always kind of, I've always been a little nerdy. I always wanted to do something different against the grain, you know, like I was always opposed to a lot of the traditional ways of doing things when it came to sales because it felt dirty, you know, like some of the ways are like, this is how you talk to a client, follow this script. And I'm like, why don't we talk to people like human beings, you know? And this was a way for me to get my message across. I could be exactly who I am and not pretend. And then people got to see me for who I am. And that seemed to be like the best thing for me when it came to video. Now, did I start and like actually like when I started, I was super scared. I was so scared. I was holding this coffee mug like this with the death grip like this because I talk with my hands. I can't help it. I'm part Italian. And my dad was like, you got to stop talking with your hands. And then I realized, you know what? I talk with my hands. People are just going to have to get over it.
Yeah, totally. That's one thing I realized about YouTube. The significance of it is even though you're famous, you could have this huge influence, this audience. What makes you human is actually what makes you valuable on the platform. And like you said, being relatable is the most important thing. Ultimately, like your revelation of like, hey, I'm speaking to buyers. That's who I resonate with. It wasn't because necessarily you're just an expert. It's because they really trusted you, because you were talking to them. You were caring about their needs. And we're going to get into some tips because I know there's a lot of people struggling with their YouTube channels and maybe they have questions about, you know, how to figure out who your audience is. And we're going to get to that. But I want to really quickly acknowledge some regulars. We got Sasha J. We got Mr. Camera Junkie, Exotic Wine Channel. What's up, Matthew? So thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit that like button for more videos like this where we interview people like Kristina who are crushing it on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to Video Influencers. If you're listening to Clubhouse, shout out to you guys over there. We're going to be doing Q&A at the end of the interview after Kristina drops some wisdom bombs on tips on how to find that right audience for your channel. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Kristina, so you went through this experience. You were nervous about starting. You started the YouTube channel. It wasn't going quite right. You had the YouTube god, Daryl Eves. He gave you an hour of his time, and everything got turned around because you focused in on a specific audience. I feel like everything else probably still took a lot of work, but you had a lot more clarity. So what would be your advice to somebody either just starting out or they're just struggling to get that momentum in terms of finding the right audience? What are the questions they need to be asking? What are the signals they should be looking out for? And is there any like general advice you'd have for somebody? Because this is important, because if you don't have that focus, you're not going to go anywhere at all.
I would say if you are brand new, like you've never even uploaded a video, and no matter what your niche is, like really think about exactly who you're making the video for. Like don't just make it because you think this is what will get you popular. Make the video about the thing that you can talk about in your sleep. Like make those videos that you know more about that specific subject than anybody else on the planet. If it happens to be cars, where you can nonstop talk about it for an hour and not even realize that you talked about it for an hour, that's the kind of content you need to be making for YouTube. If you've been doing this for quite some time and you've been talking about cars and you're still not getting any momentum, look at other successful channels that are doing what you want to do and will have the success that you want to have, and study them, study their thumbnails, study their titles, see if there's any kind of patterns to what they're doing as far as uploading. Are they uploading it twice a week, 3 times a week? And see if that's something that you can do for your own channel. And I can't stress enough is to study other people's thumbnails. I'm not saying copy them, but look at them and see exactly what it is that they're doing, and see if you can do something similar for your channel and your thumbnails, so that way you have something that's in line with your competition. So because the closer you are in line with your competition, most likely that audience might travel over to your channel, and then you slowly but surely, it's like a train down the track. It goes slow, 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 and then it starts picking up speed. You know, sometimes it can derail, but it can come back again.
For sure. I love that tip of looking at other channels in your niche, because that's one of the easiest ways to get free information that's very accurate. Like you said in the beginning, you're listening to maybe all these different experts, all these other channels, and you're all mixed up. But sometimes the best answers already are out there. You know, what the cool thing about YouTube, it's a search engine. So if you search for something that you're trying to rank for, you're going to see your competition and what they're doing to rank. So it's not just looking at their titles and thumbnails, but watch their whole video. That's what I tell people. If you really truly want to rank, like for me personally, I've got a food channel. It's called Benji TV, and you know, recipes are being done all the time by so many different people. And you know, in the beginning, there wasn't as many legit chefs. Now you got people that have been in the kitchen and restaurants for like decades competing against us, and which is actually a benefit because it levels all of us up. But when I'm going to put out a recipe, I'm watching at least the top 5 to 10 videos that are ranking for the term I want to rank for, because those are the people you're competing against, and you're going to be able to get tips and everything. Were you doing that to that degree? And are there any things that in that process of researching that you would want to maybe give tips on, like how to find your competition, how to find the right channels, and what to look out for?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was doing. I was just seeing other real estate channels, and if they were talking about what I wanted to talk about, I ended up finding things that really had nothing to do with real estate. And I saw other channels that were making pretty much the same mistakes that I had made. At the time when I was really trying to focus in on real estate, there was only 2 big channels that I could really hone in on. And they all talked about stocks and bonds and Bitcoin as well as real estate. So I was like, I still had to keep researching what else can I look for? What other information is out there? So I'm always researching. I'm always studying. There's never a stop. There isn't a day that I don't go on YouTube to study other people's channels. Yeah. I mean, I don't have all the answers. And sometimes you can find some really cool little nuggets in there and you're like, man, I should talk about that. That's some good stuff. So I would say, even when you start getting your momentum, don't get so arrogant that you think that you know it all and you don't need to study anymore. This is an ever-changing platform. It changes weekly, daily, monthly, and you have to keep up with what's going on, because you'll end up falling behind if you don't.
Oh yeah, you know, the algorithm is changing because people's user behavior is changing. You know, other platforms coming into the space and competing, well, they have to compete against them. You know, YouTube Shorts is an interesting place. It's a direct result of TikTok creeping in on people's attention. You know, during the pandemic, people were at home. They were just binge watching content on that platform. So this is why they even like released it during that time where I think they were going to ban TikTok in the US. So I think that's a great point of, you always have to stay on top of it, right? You can't really rest. Now, don't get me wrong, wrong. You got to have a good balance. You know, I don't want anybody spending 80 hours a week on their channel and like their health goes to the side. The point is, things are always changing. I can tell you in my last 10 years, the ups and downs are so crazy. The algorithm, in fact, I remember sitting in a panel at YouTube with some YouTube experts that worked on the algorithm, telling us about the different seasons of the algorithm. And they would like go through like a historical background of like, yeah, the algorithm in these years will focus on these things, and these years, these things. And so I remember the most recent one was satisfaction, user satisfaction. And that is interesting because a lot of platforms, they're just purely looking at watch time and how long you're on the platform. But YouTube has this extra layer of satisfaction. And that's a nuance that's unique, I believe, to YouTube, because what does that even mean? What are those triggers? Would you say, Kristina, I don't know if you've ever heard that or not before about that being important, but would you say that your viewers are satisfied with your content and that's directly resulted in more views, more growth?
Well, I would think that audience retention would be a form of satisfaction,
Yeah.
and then your comment section would show you
Right.
that. So I released a video that's actually doing really well. Do I think the audience was necessarily satisfied? No, I don't. And I'm looking at my audience retention. I'm like, ooh, you know, and I know what I did wrong there. And I know with the time restraints that I had, that's not my most proudest video, but I know that because I've been doing this for so
Yeah.
long that I understand. I even understood it when I was when I pushed publish, what
Yeah.
this may not do so good because I didn't put in the 100% that I needed to, but I was in such a time crunch to get that out at a certain time. And I only had less than 24 hours to film it, interview somebody, and then after interviewing them, edit it out for 2 hours and then have that out 2 hours later. It was crazy. Never done anything like that. It's a successful video where it looks like on my page, but it isn't when you start looking in the back end. It's
Yeah.
like, whoops,
Yeah, yeah.
whoopsie.
Yeah.
But have you seen those polls that comes out? Sometimes I will
yeah.
watch a video and it will give you like a little smiley face thing. It says,
Exactly.
were you satisfied with this video? And then whenever I always put yes, because I think anybody that puts the time and the effort into making a video, then I'm satisfied with that. I would never put anything like unsatisfied.
Yeah,
ever.
that video is a great example of what I'm talking about. And that poll is actually a direct result of their focus on user satisfaction, because what was happening is people were using clickbait just to get people's attention, even with the average view duration going up or the percentage of that video being, you know, like higher and higher. If you weren't satisfied from that video, that was a trigger that YouTube listens to, because they know satisfied users keep coming back, not just on daily, like that day, but like the next day, the next week. And so this is why you have to be very careful about negative types of videos, or ones that are, you know, maybe going to give people a different kind of feeling, because those polls are telling YouTube that this video was something I was satisfied with, regardless if they watch the whole thing or not. And that is kind of the nuance that's like really hard to measure. And this is why it's very difficult for YouTube. And this is why there's certain creators that will do well, and the other ones, they're following all the rules. They've got the best thumbnails, the best titles. They might have great content, but maybe they're not having the same traction as another creator. It's just too many variables. Ultimately, I think number one is definitely average view duration. So make the video that's going to serve the need of that person. And lastly, and this goes back to your first point that I would love for you to give your final tips, but understanding who you're talking to, because this is why even if other people have already done the videos that you want to talk about, you might bring a special like perspective or opinion or piece of advice that's for that specific person watching that no one else has done, and it's going to create a satisfaction that only you could brought to YouTube. And so this is why I brought Kristina on, because I thought it was a huge takeaway that not a lot of people want to talk about and focus on, that is so important. Kristina, thank you so much for your time. We're going to get into Q&A for both here and on Clubhouse, but what are your last thoughts or piece of advice for anybody going through YouTube and, you know, having the struggle?
I was listening to what you said, and
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to point out is that sometimes you have to stand on a little bit of controversy and you have to stand up for yourself. So you know that might be a controversial topic for you and your audience, but you have to put that content out there, especially if you feel it in your heart that like
Right.
maybe they idolize a certain kind of person when it comes to the real estate realm or the financial advice realm. But you know from what you've studied what has happened with this person and how maybe necessarily they might be scamming them. So
Hmm.
you make that video for those people because you're trying to
Exactly.
help them. Don't be afraid to put it out there because you're afraid you might not make people satisfied,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's not about making them satisfied. It's not like what they want to hear, but sometimes they need to hear it.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
all I want to
And by the way, long
say.
term, and again, who knows what kind of triggers they've got set up. Long term, that will play out. So it might not play out in that moment, but say they do go back to you, because you and I both know sometimes when you have to get the harsh truth told to you, or maybe if there's a disagreeing perspective coming into the conversation, you're not immediately going to be jumping for joy. Most people, I think, that are saying are like, man, I don't want to hear it. But as time goes on, you realize, you know what? Kristina was right about that. And actually, I did get scammed by that guy, right? And so that satisfaction, I think, does play out on YouTube. I don't know for sure how it does, but I think this is one thing I heard from a YouTube algorithm expert that I'll never forget. Understanding the algorithm is about understanding the people watching YouTube. As long as you understand those people and the ones that you're trying to reach out to, what's right for them is right for your channel. So yes, initially you might not get the kind of momentum. We see this with videos all the time. Like you put out a video you know is good for your viewers, or in your case, the buyers, but maybe it's not like, you know, really attractive in terms of its topic, but you know it would be good for them. Over time, what you find is those type of videos, they will do well, you know, like as an algorithm understands who to put out to, when to put it out to them. Maybe it just wasn't the right timing. So good content is good content, and that is what you need to focus on. Anything else you want to leave with the views, especially anybody that's going through the struggle of starting a YouTube channel? Maybe they're a little stagnant in their views. Anything that helped you get through those hard times?
Sometimes one of the things that I always was having a problem with is that when it was released, I would think, "Why? Oh, this video bombed. It bombed. I mean, I didn't get hardly any views on it." And then I would go to check my analytics, like, you know, a couple weeks later, I'd be like, "Wow, that video really actually took off." So I think patience is the biggest thing when
Yeah.
it comes to YouTube. And a lot of us, including myself, are not very patient. Just if I know that if you speak to your audience, the video may not take off today. At some point, it may take off. Just put everything you can in that video, and so, because later on it might get found again. So that's what really it is. It's about the people. The more you focus on that specific person you're talking to, the more successful you're going to be.
There you go. Have patience and do it for the people. Thank you so much, Kristina. We're about to get into Q&A. If you're watching the replay of this, all the Q&A is available for you if you're part of the VI members only club. So hit that join button. Make sure you go check out Kristina's channel. One of the best ways to learn YouTube is learn it from the people that are crushing it. We'll put her links down below.